that those are not contradictions, which some people still believe, right? So especially classical atheists or so often think so that doesn't go together, right? So either you have reason or you have faith. You cannot have both. And he argued very well that this is perfectly combinable and fits together. And actually, the reason is basically following from faith to some extent. So and again, then I wrote more and more of his writings, and I realized, well, there are way more. So this is really why I ended up with this AI project, because I think there's so much more to understand and to dig deeper. Actually, this book, for example, I read it now I think 5 times. Just the first one, Introduction to Christianity, and every single time I find something new. So that was really also one of the reasons why I said, okay, so we need something better. Instead of reading the same book again and again, you need something to really dig deeper.
Hey, welcome back to Faithful Politics listeners and watchers. I'm your political host, Will Wright, and I'm joined by your faithful host, Pastor Josh Bertram. How's it going, Josh?
Doing great. Thanks, Will.
And today, joining us, we have Patrick Gruhn, who is a German-born technology entrepreneur working at the intersection of artificial intelligence, faith now, and the future of the Catholic Church. He is the co-CEO of Perpetuals, vice president of the Pope Benedict XVI Foundation, and an investor in Catholic media and technology projects. His work includes developing AI tools designed to help people explain or explore Catholic teaching and the writings of Pope Benedict XVI using verified church sources. And we're just so happy to have you with us on Faithful Politics. Welcome to the show, Patrick.
Yeah, thank you. Great for being here.
Yeah, so I will just start by saying that you are different than a lot of the other types of guests that we've had on, only because like your background is technology, but you have created something that I think a lot of people will find use for it. So let's just start there. Like, you created this AI for Pope Benedict XVI. Tell us a little bit about it, and then we'll talk more about like why you did it. So what is this AI thing you created?
Yeah, what it essentially is think about it like a super smart librarian, so who can tell you everything basically Pope Benedict XVI wrote. I mean, before he became Pope, he was a professor, so he wrote really a lot. So, and many of his writings are not even translated. So there are some only available in German, for example. He was a German Pope. So, and the entire idea of this AI is to help people to go through this or this huge set of documents and find where is what thought written, how did it develop, and so on. So it's not meant to basically be like mimic the Pope, right? You could think this if you're talking about Pope Benedict XVI, so that you like chat with the Pope. So that's certainly not the idea.
Oh no! I thought I was going to be able to talk to him, ask him what his favorite ice cream. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. No, but actually, some people really believe that this is basically the idea, and that certainly it is not. It's really a research tool that people can use to better understand his teaching, his thought, or his way of thinking, and all the ideas he has developed in his entire lifetime as Pope and before. So that is really the idea. And in addition, also, I mean, the Catholic Church has a similar problem. There are many writings. So, I mean, we have the Catechism as one of the books called, but I mean, it's a long, big book, right? So it's basically if somebody really has a question, that you just have a way to ask them, no matter what it might be, and then it points you to the right source. So that's really the idea. Again, it's a research tool. It's not meant to solve your problems or to be a replacement like for a pastor or for anything.
So if I'm like, hey, AI tool, tell me why Pope Benedict was wrong. Will it tell me why Pope Benedict was wrong? Does it have the same kind of bias? Or like was wrong, right? In quotes, obviously, I don't know. I'm not referring to anything. I'm sure he's right about most of what he said, but I'm thinking like, how does it handle those kinds of things? Bias? How does it handle hallucinations? Is it going to tell me something that, the recent Pope said, or the Pope John, from Vatican II? Which one? How did you kind of control for that?
Yeah, that's actually, I mean, this is a work in progress, actually, because this is a day-to-day challenge for all AI systems, but that's really why we built our own one here. And also together with Magisterium AI, we partnered with them. So the how it generally works. I don't want to go into too many technical details, but there are systems like RAG systems where you check the answers from the AI before you display it to the users. You check it against really the sources that the AI mentions. If there is no source, or whatever the AI is going to tell the user is not verified within the source, you just reject it and send it back. So therefore, it's all a little bit slower. But it helps to prevent hallucinations. It helps to prevent telling wrong things to the user. So, and it helps to get biases out of the systems, because many of the biases are coming from the training biases. So basically, if you're only a certain set of data in your training data for any AI system, so it's basically statistically overrepresented, then that's what it usually will use to answer. So it helps with all those things by double checking the answer quality and the verifiability of the answer. So that's basically it. But to your first question, if you would ask if Pope Benedict is wrong with something, it would have to be a little bit more precise. So like, is he wrong with as he said this or that? So it might tell you yes or no. It depends what it determines. So this is not filtered out. So because I mean, he can be. I mean, even a pope can be wrong, right? So that's
Of
also
course.
misperception sometimes with the Catholic Church, I guess. So, but a pope is not everything what a pope
They're not
says.
infallible in
So that's
everything they say.
exactly. So, and the AI has no problem to tell you that. Yeah.
That's so what. So I'm sure you've probably been asked this, but you know, AI is really really big around the world. Most people probably use AI. I used AI, I think yesterday, to make like a funny cat video, you know, on a surfboard or something, you know. But like you're using AI for something completely different than I think most people would think about using AI for. So like, what I guess why why this project, and maybe more specifically, like why Pope Benedict the 16th?
Maybe I start with the second question and then coming to the first one with the AI piece. So yeah, Pope Benedict, I mean, he's a German Pope, obviously. So, and I mean, for as I was a child, there was still Pope John Paul II Pope, and then it became Pope Benedict as I was just basically like turned a little bit older than 18 years old. So I was like 22 or something at the time. So I basically, as a young adult, I really experienced him for the first time, right? As I was a child, so John Paul II, and he was already then pretty sick as I basically grew older. So I didn't really experience that much from him. And with Pope Benedict was different. So that's basically the first connection. And then I read his books. Especially the first one I read was actually Introduction to Christianity, which is basically meant to be a book for first year students in theology or something, right? But also for ordinary people. But so, and then I was pretty fascinated from his writing, because what his or most of his work was also about combining faith and reason, that those are not contradictions, which some people still believe, right? So especially classical atheists also often think so that doesn't go together, right? So either you have reason or you have faith. You cannot have both. And he argued very well that this is perfectly combinable and fits together. And actually, the reason is basically following from faith to some extent. So, and again, then I wrote more and more of his writings, and I realized, well, there are way more. So this is really why I ended up with this AI project. Because I think there's so much more to understand and to dig deeper. Actually, this book, for example, I read it now, I think 5 times. Just the first one, Introduction to Christianity, and every single time I find something new. So that was really also one of the reasons why I said, okay, so we need something better. Instead of reading the same book again and again, you need something to really dig deeper and also help, like, for example, theology students to in a scientific way to basically go through his writings, right? Where did this thought come from? What, like Introduction to Christianity has very few footnotes because it's not really meant as an academic document, but he has the same sorts in more academic paper where you then find the footnotes. So if you like want to write an essay or whatever as a student, then you need those footnotes, right? You want to go back to what is your original source. So all those things basically with this very deep thinker, and this is huge amount of writings that he produced, I thought it would be very helpful to use AI to basically go through it and then have a natural way to ask it, right? I mean, of course, you can try to put it in a database. You could do this before AI and just try with different search techniques to find it. But now it's way, way easier, right? You can really tell a specific question, and then it can look through the sources and point you somewhere. So, and yeah, and AI in general. So, I mean, why I basically ended up in AI. So, I'm a software development lawyer by training, so I have to say, but I was always interested in this entire AI piece, machine learning, how it's classically called, right? AI is a little bit of a marketing term today. So, and I had a company already like 10 years ago that did things with machine learning, neural networks. So not as sophisticated as we have today, but similar things. So like even my other company, Perpetuals, does it. So there we use classical statistical learning models and so on and so forth in the finance market. Completely different area, but it's also AI. It's not the same AI. So, but those large language models or deep learning tools, like, yeah, all the ones everybody knows, OpenAI, Claude, and what have you, they allow you this natural language interaction with the AI, and I thought this is super useful for specifically something like this, where people need basically help to understand. I mean, today, who goes actually in a library anymore? So you had the librarians in the past that helped you, right, to find at least the right books to a certain topic, but even this is not happening. People are just Googling or whatever. So in there, it becomes tough because you have like even a search engine bias, right? Some
Yes.
results simply do not show up. So, and all those things we wanted to prevent, and we wanted to build our own because we wanted to get rid of the things you mentioned, like learning bias, and also filters they put in, right? So we wanted to have something that we have basically under control. Very long answer to a very short question, so I'm sorry.
I love it though. I love it though. And it's really helpful. And I want to frame this next question kind of in a thought experiment again, like Sam coming to Benedict AI. And I'm saying something like, hey, like, it seems like AI is developing really fast and I don't know how to control it. And it seems like it's way faster than we don't even understand. Like we're catching up to what it can do and its ability. Like we're constantly catching up. And I typed this in and what insight does Pope Benedict have on this? And of course, I'm sure it'd give principles right from his writings, but what do you imagine it might say? Obviously we don't I'm not asking you to do it just like what it was, but what would you add in about the concerns for AI and how the teachings of Pope Benedict help us reason through this morally? AI's use. Does that make sense? Does the
Yeah,
question make sense?
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's very hard to predict what AI says. So, but what I would assume on Pope Benedict's writings, as I have understood them, I think he would say, and I hope the AI does the same, provides a similar answer, that it would say something to the extent that technology is by itself neutral. So can be used for good or bad things, obviously, right? It depends in what context you are using it. And this is true for any technology. It's not really new with AI. So, and that especially human dignity must be basically preserved by AI. That this is important, that basically the technology cannot replace humanity between people, relationships, and all those things. I hope it answered in a direction that is similar to this when you ask this question. So, but I think this is roughly what Pope Benedict would say. He would not say AI is bad or AI is good, but basically a more balanced approach, saying it can be used either way, and it depends. That the moral interpretation depends in what context you are using it. If you are using AI to build robots that can kill people, that is obviously something different than using AI to develop better medication. So it really all depends on the use case. So, and yeah, my own thoughts regarding AI, I think, I mean, we have a little
Yes,
bit of a
please.
hype. Sorry?
Sorry, just yes, please. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Sorry. Yeah.
I think it's a little bit of hype in terms of that people are a little bit exaggerating what AI is really capable of. I mean, it sounds super sophisticated and all those things, But I mean, we are not even close to something that can become conscious, right? So I think it never will. AI cannot get consciousness, at least not in a
I
human
agree.
sense, not even in an animal sense. So it's something completely different. Again, it sounds super impressive. I mean, I agree. I mean, every discussion I have with AI tools is way more sophisticated than with most humans. So no question about that. But it's all just statistical analysis, right? It just knows better how to apply statistics, essentially, to produce those tokens. And it can remember things better. I mean, I sometimes forget by lunch what I had for breakfast. So AI has not really this issue. So it has basically a few capabilities. But I mean, this is what a computer always had. Like doing math, computers were always good at this. But that doesn't mean that computers are getting conscious. And the same is true for AI. So I think, nevertheless, AI, I mean, it can be very risky if used by the wrong people for the wrong intentions. But because this is true for every single technology, right? I mean, since the invention of firearms or whatever, everybody knows this, right? You can use them for good or bad, and the same is true for AI. But ultimately, I'm pretty optimistic that AI ultimately will help the world to become actually a better place. So I think if people are afraid of AI, which is understandable because some jobs might get lost, but overall, I think we will increase the productivity of the society, and basically everybody will become more wealthy. If you just look back, right, 150 years ago or 200 years ago, not even a king or the president of a rich country was living as good as today most people, right? So with not even talking about like cell phones and connection and connectivity, just you have warm water. I was just in Portland. I live close to Portland, looking at an old house. This was one of the first houses 100 years ago that had really warm water coming out of the faucet and things like this, right? For us, we take it for granted. So for
Yes.
a long time, not even kings lived like this. And I think we can expect something similar from this
Mm.
technology, AI, that it ultimately improves the overall wealth of the entire planet, and therefore everybody will have advantages. But there will be, as it always is with new technologies, for some people, very negative impacts, right? So like as the car manufacturers emerged, all the chariot companies, chariots, right, for where you put horses in front. Yep.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm still
Period. Yep.
again German, so still not super good always with vocabularies. So they went out of business, and this is what you always have. So some people might for some time lose their job and so on. So it won't be like paradise with AI either. But I think overall it will help for growth, and growth will help everybody, especially the poorest people.
It's really nice to hear an optimistic outlook, by the way, because many of the outlooks we have on this show are not nearly as optimistic. And I really appreciate it. It's just nice to have a little infusion of hope. So thanks for that.
Yeah, definitely. I'm curious, like, what was the work involved to get all of these documents? I mean, like in my mind, as you're talking, you go to these documents, you're programming AI to do all these things. Like were there like people going to the Vatican, scanning documents, and then uploading them, or what was that process like?
So both. I mean, in overall, we have the Pope Benedict XVI AI. There, we didn't have to go to the Vatican, luckily, because they were all digitally available already. So, nevertheless, we saw some books specifically like from Germany and so on. But for the Pope Benedict XVI, not. But our sister project, Magisterium AI, there is a project where old books. So in this context, that's made very interesting. So we put scanners into the Vatican and are scanning books from the archive in the Vatican. So books that nobody has really even opened since hundreds of years. So we also do this, what you just mentioned, because to make those also available, that's not within this particular model, the Benedict XVI AI. This is on the broader Magisterium one, and this is about the same approach. Make it available for research. So because many right now you would have to travel to the Vatican, go into archive, pull out this book, read it. So, and with those scanners that we have put there, we are digitizing them and then training AI with the content to help to understand and put them in context who might be the author. Because at that time, very often they used not their real name, writing those letters or books, or there's not even a name on it, but AI can also help to identify who might be the author, or to whom might it be connected, or what school of thinking. So we actually do this as well. So you are not wrong. We do this as well. For Pope Benedict, we didn't have to do this because, again, everything that he essentially wrote as Pope was available online already. And only a few manuscripts and so on we had to source separately. But for those old books, like 1,500 years old manuscripts and so on, that's really involving people scanning them physically within the Vatican, yes?
You know, I mentioned earlier that we don't often talk to a lot of folks in the technology center. So this may be my one and only chance to ask you this question, because I read an article, this is years ago, that talked something about like the CAPTCHA thing, and how the CAPTCHA works, and if my memory serves me, it was something along the lines of, like scans of library books that become digitized, that when there's people aren't sure if it's like an L or 7, that's basically what CAPTCHA does. It's sort of like it forces the public to kind of make determinations on whether or not, it's an L or 7. Like, is that the kind of stuff that you all had to kind of contend with when you're like scanning documents and everything?
So this using crowd intelligence, you basically touched upon two different things here that are both super interesting. The one is basically combining crowd intelligence with artificial intelligence, which in my opinion is one of the biggest opportunities. That is what my other company does, what you mentioned earlier, Perpetual. That's what we are doing there. We combine crowd intelligence with human intelligence. So, but for this particular project, we did not have to do this because this problem is now essentially solved by AI itself. So at the early day, I mean, those character recognition machine learning algorithms, what you just said, had earlier this problem. They were not very good in distinguishing. Today, the deep learning models, they master it better than humans, actually. So where a human might make a mistake, they might be way better equipped to understand it correctly just because of the context or how they usually wrote 1,500 years ago in Greek, for example. What a human might simply miss. He might just go by what it resembles, but the AI has way more context. So actually, this is not required for scanning those old books anymore. It was some time ago, as we didn't have deep learning and just those classical neuronal networks that often made mistakes, and they needed this feedback from the crowd, from human reviewers to be better trained. That the neural network gets better. Today, it's not technically required anymore for those tasks.
So if I am getting an interpretation of something that Pope Benedict said, or let's say, even if we went over into the Magisterium AI, if we could expand to that in a little bit, and I'm looking and I'm trying to understand, and it seems like one of the risks would be that these AI gives you something, and instead of the person thinking, oh yeah, this is what, I've come to develop this understanding of what the Pope meant, they just take the AI's interpretation of what the Pope meant, right? If we can even call it that, the AI interpretation, right? It's statistical. So it's like, what do we even, what would we even call that? Like, it's statistically taking the context of all these different, documents from Pope Benedict and the other things that it has and how it's been trained on the internet, is taking all of that and then trying to bring it together. So I know it's mind, it's bewildering in some ways. And yet we know that, like, it's not a human interpretation, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, it is human adjacent, human like, because it's drawing from human made things and documents and becoming expert on Pope Benedict and other popes in Catholic doctrine. But I guess the risk is, oh, this AI is saying this must be correct, or it presents it in a way that's a neutral, or in such a way that someone say, oh wow, that must be correct. It's saying it so confidently. Is that a risk here? What would someone do to mitigate it while using it? I hope that question makes sense. I just kind of what
It,
happened. Yeah, go ahead.
no, it does. And that's actually one of the biggest problems with other existing AI models. I don't want to call those companies, but everybody knows them. So they are even worse. Not only that they make you believe more or less, okay, this is really the correct and only interpretation, but they also try to keep you like encouraged. You can ask them sometimes very stupid things, and they say, great question, and or very good or whatever.
Yeah,
They just try to keep you online. They work a little bit like those social media websites, right? They just want more basically screen time, more users, whatever. So
they're
basically,
trying to keep you using
to
it.
keep
It's
you
always
using it, yeah, keep you basically engaging with them, and that they behave like they are your best friend. So we deliberately built it completely different. So this system, if you try it, it sounds pretty much, yeah, like librarian in the bad sense, maybe. So very, very, very dry, not encouraging. It will never tell you that you are great and how great your idea is. It will just check it and tell you, okay, based on the writings, my findings are those pieces are supported by the sources, those pieces are not. So something like that. So, but not like many other classical chatbots would tell you, oh, that is great, and you mastered it and whatever. So we really try to mitigate this risk on this level already, that it's really a research tool. Again, that people feel like, okay, this is more or less an intelligent search engine I'm dealing with. This is not basically my best friend. It's not meant to be my best friend, and it's not a person. It is clearly not a person. It's a computer I'm basically interacting with. I'm just interacting through a more, for human, natural user interface, human language, instead of using like a programming language, which is way more difficult. So this is basically in our opinion, really the best way to mitigate this risk, that people fall into this trap and just take over the ideas from the AI. And then secondly, we quote always all those sources. That's the second idea with the research tool, that it basically highlights, okay, he wrote this here, he wrote this there. So it basically forces you already to come to your own conclusions, because you read what he wrote, and then you are basically forced to make your own conclusions from what the AI system just presented to you.
So how do people access this system? Like give us the details if somebody's watching this and they're like, this sounds like something really, really cool. And we do have a lot of Catholics that watch this show as well. So like how can people interact with it, sign up for it, just
Yeah, it's for
help?
free. It's for free, so you don't even really have to sign up. I mean, you can create an account, and it keeps your history if you like. So yeah, so Pope Benedict the 16th, so XVI the 16, right? So in Latin letters, how he was named. Pope Benedict 16 Society.org is a website, and there's right a link on the website for the AI. And then the second one would be Magisterium AI, which is basically the sister project. And this is broader. This is more asking questions about the entire Catholic Church. So it's not basically narrowed down. So if you're only interested in Pope Benedict, then it might be this one. If you are interested in general questions regarding, what is, for example, when can a Pope fail? Or can a Pope fail? If you ask such a question, then this is the better choice.
That's awesome. And it's available right now.
Both are available. Both are online. Yep.
That's really cool. Yeah. Well, hey, thank you so much, Patrick. This has been a really, really good chat, and I learned a lot about AI and the Pope. What? Oh, actually, no. I have one more question. Are you guys going to expand this to Pope Francis?
We might at some point. So we haven't really discussed this because it's still a lot of work. Again, it's early, and I mean, we do not have the resources like the big Silicon Valley companies that are working on this. So we have to be a little bit more selective. So for now, Pope Benedict XVI is our main focus. He has his 100th birthday next year.
Wow.
Next year he would have been 100 years old if he would be still alive. So we want, I mean, right now you can call it like a beta phase, right? So there's still a lot of work we can do to improve. And this is our main objective, because that next year in April, when his 100th birthday would occur, we want to have it basically in a way better shape and make way more people aware of it. So that's basically our main focus right now. And with Magisterium, just in general, to give it to like young people and people that have questions with the faith, because especially here in the US right now, with an American Pope, many people have questions regarding the Catholic Church, right? So what it actually teaches and what is the difference and all those things. That's why the Magisterium AI project is also very more focused on the broader Catholic scene. And yeah, so, and we unfortunately do not really have more resources. There are others like Aquinas, Thomas Aquinas, one of the great saints from the Middle Ages, that I would love to build something. And there are a few aspects already there, but this is, for example, he wrote everything in Latin, so which is of course hard to read. So then you have this translation problem for people, would provide a lot of value, or the Church Fathers, right? So there there are so many things we could do. Unfortunately, the resources are a little bit limited, so therefore we cannot do everything at once. But yeah, we might, is the answer.
That's awesome. Well, hey, thanks again, Patrick, for everything and for your work. I
Yeah,
think that this is
thank
going to be
you.
a pretty phenomenal tool that folks are going to benefit from. And I'll make sure that I put all the links so people can access it in the show notes. So thanks again for your time, Patrick.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And to our audience, hey, thanks again for stopping by. And as always, make sure you keep your conversations not right or left, but up. And we'll see you next time. Take care.